Good day, Dr. Trizot. This is Zach Kyle, doing the Unit 3 homework presentation for PS 2010. My state of choice is Indiana. That's the state I currently live in, so we'll go ahead and jump into this. So what we're going to be going over today is essentially exactly that list that was given for the homework. The political party structure, Indiana primaries, party organization, government structure, campaign methods, makeup of Indiana state legislating, districting info, and then Indiana state party issues. Starting off with the Indiana political structure, currently there are three different parties that are currently recognized with the election division, those being the Republican, Democrats, and Libertarians. Now, in order for a party to be recognized, the party must file a statement of organization with the current Indiana Secretary of State no later than 10 days after raising or spending $100, or no later than August 21st, whichever comes first. Then the new party, so that new party, their Secretary of State must receive at least 2% of the total votes cast for office in that most recent election. After that, the party must then submit the name of its candidates and their own party device, which is something as simple as a logo that is distinguishing them from other parties. Essentially, what this means is if I want to create my own political party here in Indiana, I need to either spend or raise the $100, submit a form to indicate that what I'm wanting to do, and then I need my party's Secretary of State to receive at least 2% of the vote in the most recent election. Now, with the Indiana primaries, the presidential ones are open, meaning anyone can vote. Doesn't matter about the party affiliates. However, with the congressional and state, it is going to be mixed. Now, the Indiana state law states that you either have to have voted for it in the previous election or you are going to vote for it. You have the intention of voting for your party in the next election, general election. That is what the state law says. However, there is no current way to enforce it because Indiana does secret voting, secret ballots. Moving on to party organization for the Indiana Republican Party with the chairman, which is Kyler Hupfer, vice chairs Holly Sullivan, treasurers Chuck Williams, acting secretary Stephanie Beckley. Now, of course, on both sides of the aisle, before I continue, both sides of the aisle, the parties here are only at the state level. They both answer to their organizations at the national level. For the Democratic Party organizations, the chair there is John Zodi, executive director is Lauren Ganapini. Apologize if I'm pronouncing those wrong, doing the best I can with that. Now, on the Democratic side, they did not list all the executive members like the Republicans did. So I've got two that were listed. There were others on the Democratic website that were listed. However, they were more assistants and they dealt more with media and stuff like that. Moving on to the state structure, looking at how Indiana state government is set up, we can actually see that it looks more like the federal government. This chart was actually pulled off of the State of Indiana Personnel Department Employee Handbook. That's where I got this chart. As we can see, the Indiana government is split into the three parts: legislative branch, executive branch, and judicial. Legislative, of course, being the Senate and House of Representatives, the executive branch, which, as you can see, is the bulk of it. That would include our governor, which is currently Eric Holcomb. And then we have the judicial, which is going to be the justices and the judges. Now, say I, as an individual, were wanting to run as a candidate here in the state of Indiana. Now, there's a bunch of little rules that come into this. Ultimately, it's about who you're running with and what you're running for. Now, like I said, there's a bunch of little rules. I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm going to go over the big ones, the main ones, and the most common ones. So the three ways to run for a position in Indiana is if, first off, you're actually running with a party of sorts, so the Republican or the Democrats. This is by far the best chance of getting elected, since this allows your name to get out more with the cost of running a campaign being lowered. It's shared among that party. You're going to have better logistics. You're going to have experts that are able to deal with all the paperwork and the filing. There's just a lot of little things you have to do with this. Second thing you can do, though, is run as an independent. Anyone can do this. But if you are wanting your name to be on a ballot, then you're going to have to petition for it. The final way to do it is just by being a write-in. This is just simply writing your name on the ballot itself. Now, there are a lot of items, like I said before, an individual must do before, or I'm sorry, do after deciding they want to run for office. And again, those rules vary depending on which office you're actually trying to go for. However, for all of them, you need you need to give a declaration with the Indiana election division. Um, Now, something else that you are needing to do, a little prerequisite, is the individual. You, as the individual, must also have been a U.S. citizen for at least 2 years and currently reside in the district that you are running in. Moving on to some demographics. Uh, Here we have the breakdown of the Indiana legislator. And from what we can see, the most common individual there is going to be a white male Republican who's Protestant, with the most uncommon legislator being a Native American Democrat who is non Christian. Now, the last two bits of information to go over would be the education and age. Now, as of 2015, most of the legislators were baby boomers, meaning that they aged anywhere from the 55 to 75 years old. Now, it would appear to still be that case. You see, in 2015, it was 49%, 2020 is 14%, with 67% being no data. However, 67% of that 2020, again, were not counted. So it could be safe to assume that maybe the majority of baby boomers or the majority of them are still baby boomers. Also, 32% of the legislators only have a bachelor's degree without a master's, and only 19% of them have a master's degree. Moving on to the Indiana district map. Now, Indiana currently has 150 legislative districts, and each one elects its own representative. There's 100 of them for the state house and 50 of them for the Senate. Now, Indiana just recently did a census back last year. I want to say it was March or April is when I filled mine out for my family, which means that these lines are actually going to become outdated either this year or the next year. Now, the state legislators, they are the parties responsible for redrawing of the lines, but the government can veto this if necessary. Now, if it does come to that and no one can actually agree upon what those lines should be, there is a backup commission for this. That commission is currently made up of the Speaker of the House, who is Todd Hudson, President of pro tempore of the Senate, which is Roderick Bray, Chair of the Elections Committee, which is Paul Oakson, and Chair of the Elections and Appointment Committee, which is Timothy Wesco. There would be a final individual, which is a gubernatorial appointment. Moving on to the final issue, or the final slides, the Indiana Republican Party issues. Now, really, the issues are not surprising at all. They're almost stereotypical. In fact, the Democratic Party are going to have some of the similar ones. Both of these were pulled from their platforms. Indiana, the Republican Party, did not get into a whole lot of details. Some of them were detailed, not a lot of them, though. Indiana Republican Party issues, though, are going to be education, economy, millennial engagement. That one was interesting. If you remember back to that demographic slide, the majority of the legislators are currently baby boomers. So it is a current goal to get millennials more engaged in the government to try and replace the baby boomers as they leave office. Of course, diversity, retraining good workers, the drug epidemic. Mike Pence helped us out a lot with that a couple years back, and then many more issues. For the Democratic Party issues, of course, education. Some specific things that they were focusing on, though, would be universal preschool and to abolish the I-STEP, which is a test that the state of Indiana has people take. And then finally, economy, healthcare, equality, security, diversity, the drug epidemic, and others. So that's everything that I'm going to be covering today. Here are the... Oops, sorry, grab the wrong one. Here's the references. Move my pictures so you can see the rest of that. If you have any questions, always reach out to me. Other than that, you have yourself a great day.